First, thank you so much for having me. My name's Jon Echols, and I'm running for Oklahoma Attorney General. It's a real honor to get to talk to you. I'm a fifth-generation Oklahoman. I'm always real at home when we talk about agriculture. We own a land-run farm. I guess now I own the land-run farm out in O'Keene. And I always say O'Keene because nobody knows where Ames is unless you live by Ames. But that's where it is. I always start, though, the same way. Other than my salvation, the very best thing about me is my wife of 24 years, who is right back there in the Echols, who puts up with all of this. We got married when I was 21 and she was 20. We started dating when I was 15 and she was 14. And if you doubt whether or not I have the skills to cut a good deal as your next Attorney General, meet Kristen, you'll be sold. I'm ready to go. So. Our story, you run for the Oklahoma legislature, you don't spend a lot of time talking about yourself, and you run for office, you go around the state talking about yourself. So I'd love to, if it's okay, tell you a little bit about me, and then tell you a little about what I'm going to do as your next Attorney General. Our story is kind of the Oklahoma story. My family, I'm second generation from poverty. I was raised by my mom and dad were both lawyers. When we got married after law school, I decided to go to law school. We went to Oklahoma City University. We had our first child in law school. I do not recommend that, but we did. But the good news is we never fought about money because we didn't have any money, so it worked out. When we graduated first in my law school class, I went to work for a big firm in downtown Oklahoma City called Crowe & Dunleavy, because that's what you were supposed to do. Well, it took me about 4 weeks to realize that is not how I wanted to spend the rest of my life. It took me about 3 years, because remember, now we have 2 kids at this point, and my children, like your children, like to eat. So we had to figure out what we were going to do. So while I'm working at the law firm during the day, Kristen's raising the children, we open a medical staffing company at night, staffed nursing homes and assisted livings. We built that company with our own money, our own risk. I say that to say, I know what it's like to be a practicing lawyer. I know what it's like to be a small business owner. Since that time, about 3 years later, I left Crowe. I went to work for my mom and dad's firm, Echols and Associates. Tried numerous cases, have a great deal of experience as a lawyer. Also opened 5 other healthcare companies. So we employed thousands of Oklahomans, frankly some people in some other states, and we were building our family together. What I bring to the office of Attorney General is somebody who has that strong legal background, but that strong work ethic and knows what it's like to scrap and have to survive and have to make it, because there is no plan B. We were plan B. But that's not actually what I think makes me the most qualified to be your next Attorney General. 13 years ago, after prayerful consideration, I decided to run for the Oklahoma House of Representatives. And when I ran, I got to serve 8 years as majority floor leader. That is longer than anyone in the history of the state of Oklahoma. Majority floor leader determines where the bills go. They determines who's assigned to what committees. The most controversial thing we did was office spots and parking. Members are okay with bills. They get really mad about that. And ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, I got a PhD in how state government wastes your money. I mean, I know exactly what the problems are. I know exactly what the job of the Attorney General is, and I know exactly what we can do with the position. So when I tell you why I want to run for Attorney General, I give you that background as somebody that can do these things and knows what they're doing. And the reason this campaign is catching on like wildfire, we know we're in the lead, but we're running like we're behind, is because we have the right message. And we are running to do 3 things, and that's create a safer, freer, stronger Oklahoma. And all 3 of those things mean something. When I say we're going to create a safer Oklahoma, I am unashamedly a pro-law enforcement candidate. Unashamedly. I already have the endorsement of 51 sheriffs in this state, including your local sheriff, who does an excellent job for you all. Give her a round. I love seeing him here investing in the community. We got to spend some time talking about public safety in his office today, because at the end of the day, the Attorney General's office under my watch is going to back law enforcement. We've already been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, by the state firefighters, by the Oklahoma City firefighters, by the Rural Firefighters Association, by the Retired Firefighters Association. We are the law and order candidate for Attorney General. So what does that mean? We are going to root and stem illegal medical marijuana and fentanyl from this state, and we are going to eradicate it. And here's exactly how we're going to do it. We don't need to wait on anybody else to help us. You've got an incredible DA, you've got the right sheriff, and if you have the right Attorney General, somebody who knows the law, and you want to know one of the reasons I know what the Attorney General can do on medical marijuana? Because I passed the law. That was my bill. I was frustrated that medical marijuana had gotten out of control in the state of Oklahoma. So first I created OMMA to try to regulate it. That wasn't doing a good enough job. And then I passed the law that gave the Attorney General the authority. It will, and I've got an entire plan, and I probably get some questions on that, so I'll hold off on that, but I've got a whole plan on how we're going to do it. But don't think just because we're in Oklahoma that, for example, what happened in Minnesota can't happen here. I'm a South Oklahoma City guy. If you're wondering, that's the working part of the city. Just so you know, I'm a South Oklahoma City guy. Yeah, I think you can. You can't take Southside out of it. So it is what it is. I get it. So remember, during the George Floyd riots in Oklahoma City, they burnt a black-owned business to the ground that existed to give people getting out of incarceration clothes so they could go to business interviews. 0 indictments. This happened in our state. We have to have an Attorney General that has the backbone and has the backing and has the track record, because any politician can tell you anything they want to tell you. And as I tell you this, I talk a lot about my record, because that's how you know what you're getting. And that's what I'm going to do as your next Attorney General. When I talk about a freer Oklahoma, I'm an unashamedly conservative candidate. I've already been endorsed by CPAC. And if you don't know who CPAC is, that is the largest conservative organization in the country. If you saw the picture of Elon Musk with a chainsaw talking about Doge, that's CPAC. That's where that happened. That wasn't by accident. That's both my conservative record in the Oklahoma legislature, but my conservative actions as an individual. A lot of people don't know this. If you haven't heard of the Castro case, do you know there was a case filed in federal court to kick President Trump off the Oklahoma ballot? Yeah. There was a case filed in federal court to kick President Trump off the Oklahoma ballot. It was filed while the Trump campaign was still getting up and going. It was a multi-state attack. I joined with the ACLJ, that is the Christian version of the ACLU, the ACLJ, and we represented the Oklahoma Republican Party pro bono, that's lawyer talk for free, saying absolutely not. Oklahomans get to decide who gets to be on the Oklahoma ballot. I did that because my walk will always match what it preaches. And if you know about the ACLJ, keep watching. There's a big endorsement for me coming from Jordan Seculo. Awesome. Because at the end of the day, they want a proven conservative that will stand on my Christian faith, will stand on my values, and will continue to be the person that I was when I was in there. And then we talk about a stronger Oklahoma. That's really talking about protecting your taxpayer dollars. A lot of people think the Attorney General is the Chief District Attorney for the state of Oklahoma. That's not really true. The Chief District Attorney here is your District Attorney, Jack Thorpe. And by the way, you have a great District Attorney. Yes. I'm a huge fan. You have a great District Attorney, and I'm really excited to get to work with him. You're going to have an Attorney General that has your back. And I've said that to you privately, and I'm saying it publicly. So what the Attorney General's office, though, is it's actually not that. It's the lawyer for the taxpayers of the state of Oklahoma. It has a unique position where it can make sure the state government is following the law. You know, I served with Matt Meredith back there, served with Bob Ed Culver, served with Brad Bowles, going to come talk to you next. They'll all tell you the same thing. Nothing's more frustrating as a legislator than when I got a call from a constituent that said this state agency is breaking the law. Let's take mental health, for example. Mental health paid for a hip-hop version of the Nutcracker with your taxpayer dollars. I'm going to say that again. The Department of Mental Health paid for a hip-hop version of the Nutcracker with your taxpayer dollars. When I would find that out from constituents, we would get calls. Every legislator can share a story like this. And we would look at it and we would say, you know what? our constituents right. The state of Oklahoma is breaking the law here. But I'll give you a secret. Even as floor leader, they didn't give me a goon squad. I couldn't go break their legs. I couldn't pass another law that says, I really mean it this time. This one's the real one. There's no red letters. Like in Scripture, the words of Jesus are in red. They're all just the law. The Attorney General, on the other hand, that's the entity that holds state government accountable. And when I say I'm going to do that, you're talking to somebody that lived it. I created LOFT, the Legislative Office of Fiscal Transparency, because I was so concerned with your taxpayer dollars. LOFT was Doge before Doge. So if you've heard of the Swadley scandal, I don't know if Brent Swadley broke the law. I don't know if tourism broke the law by giving a no bid contract. I know we all got hosed. LOFT found that. Talk about the P card scandal. But that's not, it's a bigger deal, but almost nobody's heard of it. P cards, you'll appreciate this, Mr. District Attorney. You run into this. The Public Bid Act says every good over $5,000 has to be publicly bid. Well, what you had some state employees were using their P cards. That's a fancy word for credit cards, by the way. Only state government would have a fake word for credit cards. Purchase cards, credit cards. They would charge their credit card $4,000 3 times for the same item, just to get around the Public Bid Act. LOFT found that. Not only did I create LOFT, I sat on LOFT. And as somebody who, by the way, has been on network TV for 8 straight years on a show called Your Vote Counts, actually my most proud moment from the media was when I was grilling in LOFT the director of the Department of Mental Health, and Trace Savage wrote, every new director deserves to be grilled by Jon Echols at least once to get their feet wet. Made me real proud. Because at the end of the day, I'm a bulldog. I was a bulldog for your taxpayer dollars. And if you'll let me, and if you'll trust me and honor me with your vote, that's what I'm going to do as your next Attorney General. We are running on a defined message. So the ask I have at the end of this is really through 2 things. Number 1, I want your prayers. I need your prayers. If God's not in it, I don't want to be a part of it. But I believe that He is. And number 2, I want your vote. And I'm asking for it. There are 2 types of politicians, those that ask and losers. I'm asking. I want your vote and I want your support. I'd love it if you followed us or if you looked. We are all over the state. We're running a great campaign. We're all over the state. You can check it out on Echols for AG on Facebook, Team Echols for AG on X, Jon Echols for Attorney General. You can tell your kids how to look at it on Instagram. Yeah. My kids are on Instagram. I don't know what's going on there. They tell me Facebook's for old people. But that is what it is. That's where I am. But check it out. Thank you for your time. Do I have a few minutes for questions? All right, I want as much questions as we have because that's way more fun. But thank you.
20 minutes.
Good.
I know where you stand on poultry, but I'd love for you to tell
Let's
me.
talk about that. So let's open up for questions. So, by the way, no question. I always start this. No question is off limits. I told you I was on TV for 8 straight years. I answered 4 questions a day or 4 questions a week on live TV. I've talked more in front of a TV camera than any politician in the state of Oklahoma.
There you go.
It's real easy for me to tell you what I believe because I said it to a camera. So ask anything. The question was on poultry. As your next Attorney General, we are going to settle this poultry lawsuit, and we are going to keep poultry in the state of Oklahoma. That's just the bottom line. That's the answer. I have already met with the industry. I think we are capable of doing it. I want clean water as much as everyone else, but at the same time, the goal of our land run farm, right now we're sharecropping it. Our goal is to make enough money out of this. We grow wheat. I don't know if y'all know this. Wheat's not worth much. Our goal is to make enough money every year that we can pay the taxes, and the taxes aren't that much.
Yep.
It is incredibly difficult to make a living in agriculture, and we have to be a state that's open for agriculture. So we're going to settle that case, and we're going to do our best to keep them here. Yes, ma'am.
Would you give your 2 website or you don't have a website?
I do. Yeah.
You do. And you got cards
It's on the bottom of.
I do. Can we pass out some? Can we pass out some more
and
push
your
cards?
X account and your
Right here.
It's at the
Oh,
bottom.
oh,
Jay, can you repass out push
Oh,
cards?
that's the wrong one. It's
Okay,
Yep.
that's right.
right
So-
here.
Okay.
It's Facebook.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
anyone that doesn't have them.
Thank you. Okay.
So the website is www.jonechols, and it's JONECHOLS.com. and then the Facebook and the X are on there. I think it's Jon Echols for AG
And
and Teen.
I'm gonna clarify, we grow wheat on the.
Did I say weed?
You said wheat, but I'm making sure.
All right. I gotta tell a funny story, then I'm gonna go to a question. I gotta tell a funny story.
I started like sweating
Wait,
back here.
so if you haven't noticed, I've had a lot of jobs, and again, we were babies when we got married, and we needed to survive. So I coached high school football 2 years before we got married, and then 2 years after we got married, and I was a defensive coordinator and for junior high, and one of our calls when I would see in a certain formation was shift. Shift means scoot over. I'm screaming throughout this whole scrimmage, shift at various times. We come back and Kristen is mortified going, "What is the matter with you?" I want to be clear, it was always shift. That was not the word she heard. Yeah, wait. All right, yes, ma'am.
I think the current AG is a little weak on this because he may be running, for election of the governor. But we're in a specific place. What is your stance on, do I live on the reservation? Do I live on the Cherokee reservation right now?
That's a great question. You live in the
It's
state of
not
Oregon.
just a great question, it's a very, very, very
important.
Yeah.
important question in Cherokee County.
Yeah. You live in the state of Oklahoma. I mean, that's the bottom line. Now, if the question is, I'm gonna change that a little bit to the McGirt bigger question. Is that okay? I'm not trying to get it, but we're one Oklahoma. Now, anyone running for attorney general that tells you they're going to overturn McGirt is pandering to you, because that's not. And I'm just not, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just not a panderer. Like, I have talked way too much in front of a camera. The great thing about telling the truth is you never have to remember what's said. I'm just not willing to pander. So McGirt, and I think everybody here knows what McGirt is. That's the good part about this county. Everybody knows what McGirt is. That's not changing. But the holding of McGirt is, for purposes of the Major Crimes Act, there's exclusive jurisdiction for the native population when they're on trust land. That's the limited holding of McGirt. So the question is, what does that mean? So let's start with the red line. That means civil jurisdiction over my dead body. Like, I'm always going to fight civil jurisdiction. That doesn't mean that, for example, if you're a tribal member, you still have to pay Oklahoma income tax. Now, then comes the question your DA fully understands: what does it mean for criminal jurisdiction? Here's my stance on McGirt in a nutshell. We need more compacts, less lawsuits. That's my stance in a nutshell. We have got to find a way to stop federalizing Oklahoma criminal justice. Because who gets hurt when we do that is the average everyday citizen. And that's who I care about. We talk all the time about the criminal. You'll when you hear me talk about criminal justice, though, you're going to hear me talk a whole lot more about the victim. Because that's what we're trying to do. That's who we're trying to get. So as your next Attorney General, what I think I'm going to be able to do is cut deals. It's not that hard, by the way. We have concurrent jurisdiction with the tribes on numerous other things, including, by the way, adoptions and parentages, which we've had that for 30 years, maybe 25 years. I don't want to exaggerate, but that's still a quarter century. That's not a short amount of time. It's older than any of our kids. I mean, and one's married. Like, it's older than them. What I'm going to be able to do as the next Attorney General is work out something, and that's why I'm so proud. I have a great relationship with our tribal nations, a phenomenal relationship. But I also have the endorsement of 51 sheriffs saying, this is the guy. Like, this is the guy that can get it done. And that changes from state to state, from places in the state. I had a fundraiser at the Choctaw Nation headquarters where I was introduced by then Sheriff Johnny Christian. We can find a way to get along. Now, if we don't get along, if we leave holes where victims are falling through the cracks, I know where the courthouse is. I've tried lots of cases, no problem. But I will tell you, as a lawyer, you'll appreciate this, Mr. District Attorney. What I used to always tell my clients is they don't sell justice at the courthouse. They sell finality. You want justice, you find a way to cut a deal that everybody can live with. You want it over, you let the judge drop the hammer, let the jury decide, and that's what we do. So that's kind of the baseline of where I am in McGirt on that issue, and I think we can do it.
So if you take out the criminal and the legal, that part of it, I'm concerned about that, but I'm also concerned about my deed goes back to his original land allotment from whoever. If you keep saying the sky is purple, like I can't get off anywhere, and that's all I ever hear is we're on a reservation. Right now, the current AG about hunting on tribal land, does that mean any land that is in, if you go pull up right now, everything, they're very good of putting control of the internet. It throws you to the .org side, to their site, and it reaffirms all that. So I'm concerned, like as a landowner that's not a tribal person, how that is, keep saying the sky is purple, eventually everybody thinks the sky is purple.
So the hunting question that came up, I'm gonna hit the hunting question, I'll give all of it. There's a simple solution to the hunting question: re-sign the compact. Like, I don't know why we don't do that as a state. So what had happened, the reason this has never been an issue is the entire time I was in the legislature, we had a compact with our major tribes. And what they did is bought at a discount, so this is where governor's right. They bought at a discount hunting licenses, but they bought them for every member of the tribe. Obviously, a vast majority of the tribe didn't use them, but they bought them for everyone. Then what we did as a state is go take down in the neighborhood, now don't quote me on this number, but it was in the I'm in about 20%, in the neighborhood of about $10 million for wildlife, because the federal government pays you per tag, or per license. But for some reason, we have got such an impasse between the tribes and the governor that we didn't renew those compacts, which we should have renewed. I want to be clear. That's the answer. Because we didn't renew them, now we're faced with this question of, and what of these lawsuits of, what's the answer to the question of your jurisdictional issues? Who can hunt where? I'll tell you. I think what the federal court is likely to say is a Cherokee Nation citizen can hunt on Cherokee Trust land, and there's nothing we can do about it. I think that's what they're likely to say. I think there's a very low chance that they're going to say they can hunt on your land without your permission. But do you want that to be a zero chance? Re-sign the compact. I mean, not every question, and that's the question where I go to, not being a panderer, because it's easier to just say, stomp my foot and say that, but I'm just not going to do that. Like, I hope you want an attorney general that's reasonable with you. The answer to that question is bad. This is not a good litigation. If we just re-signed the compacts, we don't have to worry about this anymore, and we all get a whole bunch of money, and we're not arguing over jurisdiction anymore. That's what now, who's going to win when it goes to a lawyer? If any of you have ever had to hire a lawyer and they promise you how a court's going to decide, run. Because any lawyer that's never won a case they should have lost, or lost a case they should have won, ain't tried too many cases. Like that's just part of the deal. But that's where, so the questions were nuanced. First question, we're the state of Oklahoma, we're one Oklahoma. I do want to make sure I'm clear on that, and I'm not, but I also think we have a chance, and this is a big deal here. The fight between the state of Oklahoma and the tribes, when you get into 23rd and Lincoln, so many people just lose their flipping mind. I don't know what happens. You walk through the door, really smart people, just all of their brain cells leave their head. And they do the weirdest things that make sense. I call it the bubble. That makes sense in this 23rd and Lincoln bubble. And you know what they forget? They forget this stupid fight hurts people in Cherokee County. They forget this fight has real world consequences. Because either we're going to win that case, and you got to go to the grocery store, you got to live around your tribal citizens, they're Oklahomans too, and they're ticked off, or even worse, you're going to lose that case. And that's a terrible outcome. When we could just re-sign the compact, we all take a whole bunch of money from the feds, and we don't have to deal with any of this. I mean, this to me is an unforced error that we're bringing on ourselves. And I've been kind of saying that. That's a really good question. Any other questions? I was told by your sheriff this group has great questions. You have not disappointed.
Well, I will say why Candy brought that up with the hunting is we have people here that landowners, you have, like, I wanna go deer hunting. I have my Indian card. I can hunt. I don't care, you know? Candy's land, that used to be my great grandpa's, and it's, even though we don't own it anymore, well, we owned it back then, and so they think they can come hunting on it.
Man, our land out in O'Kane, the sharecropper leases it. He also leases the hunting lease. We get to use the hunting lease too. That's a great way to get shot. Like, I mean, I just don't know how to be any more blunt. Like you don't trample on other people's lands. So I know what you're saying, and I agree with
I
you.
had a guy this past deer season, he, was road hunting, and actually he hadn't been road hunting, he took down the fence and went through, and
Yeah.
he came out and I caught him up on the road. Well, I'm a tribal member, this is Indian land, this reservation, and I said, it's not a reservation.
To be clear, in that situation, I think that guy's wrong. But
Okay, just a quick one, just want to point out, no P cards, by the way, in District 27. We are not allowed to have them, and we don't use them. Also 4 audits in a row with no exceptions.
There you go.
But, the Attorney General's office, as it exists right now, is quite a bit different than how it existed 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Not that I know anything about how the agents are.
Yeah, you know a lot.
So, it's about doubled in size, and I'm not griping. Not that we wouldn't like to have some lawyers out back into the DAC system.
right.
But do you have an idea about how you want to structure it? Is it going to be the same size as it is now? Is it getting bigger? Is it getting, I'm not, and this is just old Jack wondering, because
Yeah.
I've got to hire lawyers, so,
Yeah, we talked about that. So the Attorney General's office has grown by about 200 FTEs.
yeah.
200. It's gone from 120 to about 320.
Put that in dollars.
You're talking about probably, I don't want to, I knew the number of the size. So don't quote me on the dollars, 'cause I haven't done that, but give or take 25 million, give or take.
But it was also in response to problems, like we're talking about the medical marijuana stuff too.
Some of it was good. Some of it's medical marijuana, some of it's the 10th Amendment Center. Some of it's fine. Some of it's the medical marijuana issue. Some of it's created a 10th Amendment Center to push back on the federal government. I'm going to be super active in there. Some of it is it also took over the ombudsman. But some of it has grown too big. So to be clear, I mean, some of it is, you and I talked, I'm glad you asked this, because you and I talked about a little bit this bill out in the office. So here's my vision for the AG's office. My vision subject to change. I'm going to talk to some people. I'm not measuring the drapes till we win. And Jack already knows he's going to be one of them that we're going to talk about. But here's my vision for what we do. I think it's overgrown in non-lawyers. I think it has too many investigators. I don't think it needs the number of investigators that it has. I think Donnie Anderson over at OBNDD is one of the best law enforcement officers in the state of Oklahoma. And I call him out by name because I think he's doing a great job. I think through partnerships with people like your local sheriff and others, we just talked about this. Through partnerships with OBNDD, through the local sheriff, that we doesn't need nearly as many investigators as we have. I'm hesitant to say, here's the lawyers,
Right.
what we're gonna do, because I just don't know. Here's what I can tell you you're getting when you're me. We have a budget, and I was only in charge of my house budget, and I spent about 50% of it for my last several years. I was entitled to take gas going back and forth to the Capitol. I never took it. I'm not bashing people that do. I lived in the city, so I'm not saying if I lived in Cherokee County I wouldn't, because probably would. But I lived in Oklahoma City, and my constituents didn't get paid to drive to work, so I didn't feel like I should get paid to drive to work. Just felt morally wrong. We never talked about that. It was never on the campaign trail. I start talking about it now because now I'm talking about running a bigger budget. We're going to run it in a fiscally responsible manner, and we're going to have to shrink that office a little bit if I still do core functions. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. I know in investigators, and then we're going to have to sit down and figure out on the lawyers. But it doesn't need to be 320 people. I mean, that's not that. It's doing some things that it probably doesn't need to be doing. Now, we gave it PBMs, and we gave it. I'm not going to get rid of those, but that's my vision for how we're going to organize it. Somewhere in between that recognizes the new departments. And frankly, I'm going to move some people around because I'm going to have one Elliot, we talked about it in there too. I'm going to have one Elliot Ness style czar whose job is to go after fentanyl in the state of Oklahoma. So we're gonna have one prosecutor who his job is to go in, wake up in the morning. That's obviously the biggest thing I'm running in, and it's not gonna I'm not running on taking DA's cases. That's not what we're looking to do. We wanna be a force multiplier. And that's what I wanna leave you with. The reason law enforcement has jumped so far behind me and so heavy behind me is because they see that person that's going to be their force multiplier. That person that's gonna fight for them. How much time do I got? Good. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.